Kenneth Roth is the executive director of Human Rights Watch, the group behind the detailed report of U.S. airstrikes in Yemen. He joins me now from New York. Thanks for being with us. Kenneth Roth, first off, what is the sort of headline finding of this report as far as targeted killings and the drone campaign in Yemen?
Well, Hala, as you pointed out, many people believe that drones are surgical weapons, and indeed they are extremely precise. They will tend to hit what you point them at. The problem is that they're only as good as the intelligence and the policies behind their use. And so what Human Rights Watch found in this report, we looked in depth at 6 different cases of targeted killings in Yemen. And we found that over and over, these targeted killings misapplied the standards that President Obama himself has articulated as recently as May in the speech that you just featured. For example, in one case, one of the ones that you just highlighted in the video presentation before, there was a taxi, an SUV, driving along with a dozen civilians in it. It was hit. All the civilians were killed, including a pregnant woman, 3 children. There had been a militant driving along the road previously, but he wasn't hit. It was these group of civilians who were hit. Another case, there were cluster munitions used against a Bedouin camp. There were 14 militants who were killed, but 41 civilians who were killed. So these are anything but precise targeted strikes. And what we're pressing the Obama administration to do is to, he gave a very nice speech. He articulated great standards. Let's apply those standards. Let's live up to them, because so far the United States is not doing that.
Well, let's look at some of the statistics, and as difficult as it is to get precise numbers because of the secrecy surrounding this program, the New America Foundation, for instance, compiled these figures. But this is for Pakistan. It gives us an idea, though, of an active drone program by the U.S. in that country, as has been reported over the years. And you can see there, I'm not sure you can actually see the graph, but that the number of strikes has diminished, and at least according to this graphic, that the number of civilians killed is also going down. So if the U.S. makes every effort to target only suspected militants, would then that make a difference for rights groups?
Well, obviously that would make a difference, but in the Human Rights Watch report, we focused principally on strikes that took place in the last 2 years. And it's true that there has been a diminution in the number of attacks since the president's speech. There was a blip upwards with 9 attacks suddenly in July following the threat to American embassies. But aside from that, there does seem to be a bit of a diminishment at the moment. But we're looking at cases that are really quite recent. And so even within the last 2 years, the U.S. is misapplying its targeted killing program. And time after time, it says it's only going after militants. It says there's 0 tolerance for civilian casualties. It says it's extraordinarily careful. That's just not the way it's working out.
But let me ask you this then, as far as rights groups are concerned. What should be done if the U.S. identifies a clear and present danger that it considers as a danger to its national security? What then should it do? I mean, is the drone program, for instance, preferable to raids or to a ground operation?
Well, President Obama said that there's a preference to capture, and that's the right standard, because if there is an imminent threat to the United States, still the preference should be to capture the person. Killing should be the last resort. And so I suppose it was positive that just recently we saw in Somalia and Libya efforts to capture militants rather than simply to kill them. But if killing is going to take place, it's important that the standards articulated by the president in May be applied. That is to say, only for an imminent threat to the United States, only if capture is not possible, and only if there's real certainty that there won't be civilian casualties. Those rules are flouted over and over again in the cases that Human Rights Watch has documented, and many more that our colleague organizations have looked at.
Right, and we know critics have said the definition of the word imminent has been quite elastic over the years. Thanks very much, Kenneth Roth, the Executive Director of Human Rights Watch, joining us from New York.